Good morning. This is my third time back, and I just wanted to say the first time was your last day at the last site. I'm sure you were leaving for Italy then. I'm sure. Okay. All right. Okay. Great. Yes? Okay. I just wanted to check.
So every time you come, I'll go to Italy.
Wow. Welcome back and goodbye. Today, I wanted to talk about something that happened a few years ago. It'd been on my mind. It was around Halloween, and I went to Philadelphia to visit some friends who live in the Fairmont Avenue area, and that's right near the Eastern State Penitentiary. Now, that's this huge Gothic castle-like building with empty cell blocks, creepy darkness. Once was very famous and was a model for many prisons around the world. Al Capone was there. Anyway, they had talked about what do they want to do with that. They want to make it a shopping mall. Do they want to knock it down? They made it a museum. It was operational from 1829 to 1971. Then it's now a museum, but every September to mid-November, every season they turn it into something called Terror Behind the Walls. Do you know? Oh. And it becomes this massive, haunted prison. Over 200 performers, all professionally made up, like zombies and ghouls, very well made up. Inhabit the darkness, wander through the hallways and the cell blocks. You never know when they're going to appear. Well, my friends Dina and Zen live in the neighborhood, so they give the neighborhood free tickets. Dina did not want to go, and I was like, oh yeah, I'll go with her husband Zen. Went with Zen. So we go there, and it's a really big deal. We give them our tickets. They give us 2 glow necklaces. I put mine on without asking. Zen has the presence of mind to say, what are these for? And the guy says, oh, that lets the monsters know that they can touch you. Thank you very much. You see, to be fully immersed in the action, the necklace marks you as willing to be grabbed, held, potentially taken into hidden passageways. Right? One more thing the ticket taker said. If it gets too much, just say, monster begone, and they will back off and disappear. Monster begone and the beast recedes. I was so excited. And as we're walking in, I'm talking to Zen, oh, what a great metaphor. Think about kids learning that monster begone, taking back our power, taking back our control. And then I screamed. I screamed many times during this experience. The interesting thing is Zen, true to his name, did not. Monster begone. Our thoughts are prayers, and we are always praying. How many of our prayers are monsters? How many of our thoughts are frightening, make us feel powerless, diminished, less than, not as good as? I assume I'm not just talking about me and my thoughts. Oh, good, okay. How many of our thoughts make us feel scared, maybe keep us up worrying at night? And how many times do we just keep on giving power to them, obsessing, attaching to them? Now, they disappear after a bit, but another situation arrives and boom! They come back to life and drag you along. Let me rephrase that. That's not quite right. We bring the monsters back to life, like a Dr. Frankenstein. The monsters of, you are not worthy, you are not deserving, you are not smart enough, I'm not attractive enough, tall enough, short enough, I am not good enough, I am not enough. Old messages, ancient messages perhaps. There's a Broadway musical called Into the Woods. Stephen Sondheim's a wonderful song called Children Will Listen. Sometimes he's got pretty intense lyrics. And I thought of these when I was writing this. There's a part which goes, "What do you leave to your child when you're dead? Only whatever you put in its head. Things that your mother and father had said, which were left to them too." Things that your mother and father had said, which were left to them too. Whew. Ancient messages passed down. Conversations we've had with ourselves, perhaps, that our parents might have had with themselves. It might take more than a begone to dismiss some of these from our DNA. But along with the awareness of what we're thinking, what we're doing to ourselves, along with the unity tools, affirmations, denials, it's a pretty good arsenal to fight some of that old stuff. And what better time to start than Lent? Charles Fillmore suggested using this season to release negative thoughts and feelings and to feast on the Christ in us. To fast from discontent and feast on gratitude, to fast from bitterness and feast on forgiveness, and to fast from judging others and feast on compassion. Fast on judging too. Really? Okay, well, after a week or two of writing this, I realized I really needed to include my judgments as being monsters. For they are truly my daily monsters, and they appear quickly and sometimes ferociously. Like a few weeks ago at the gym. You know, it's great doing these talks because I'm so aware of what I need to work on, and it helps me work on that a little bit. So I'm go to put my sneakers on, and there's this bench, and this young guy has his stuff laid out on the whole bench. And yes, can you imagine? I know. I thought, how selfish. God, these young people, just not even aware. No, I bet he is aware of what he's doing, taking up the whole bench. I reacted to my perception, how it appeared to me, as if it was correct, for a moment. I often react to my interpretations as if they were correct. But remember, the Course in Miracles says perception follows judgment. This time, thanks to you, because I was doing this, I caught myself right then. I was in the midst of writing this message. I could more easily challenge my thinking and take another route. And I demanded that my judgment, that monster, be gone. And once I got out of my head, I asked the young guy if he could make room on the bench. You know what he said? You know what he had the nerve to say? Right? Oh, yes, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize it. Here, let me move this stuff. It was a great moment. Something so simple. Do you know where it's kind of like a great moment? I have to remember this. Monster of judgment, begone. Begone, so that the stories I create dissipate. Begone, so that the mental energy attached to reinforcing my stories disappear. And begone, for I allow you to obscure my link with Source when I listened to your wild shrieks. I demand you vanish, I take back my power, and I choose again. Joel Goldsmith reminds us, the beginning of wisdom is when we draw our attention away from the outer world, from the world of appearances, and begin to realize that power is not in it, but in me. It appeared that the guy at the gym was being purposefully inconsiderate. It appeared to me that's really important because that becomes my truth, and I operate from that. But he wasn't being inconsiderate. My perception makes me author of reality, and I've gotten into trouble living the reality I manufacture. For those of you here, when I spoke last time, I spoke of the blind men and the elephant, and everybody touching a different part, having their own truth, but not seeing the whole. And I thought of that. I get in trouble when I insist an elephant is a sword based on the fact that I am only experiencing one part, the tusk. That limited knowledge leads me to believe it to be the whole truth. But as Buddha said, we should not mistake the part for the whole. So I was wrong again, yet again. As Unity says, or my friend from Unity says, we're slow learners and fast forgetters. Monster begone. so I can replace you with truth. In The Wizard of Oz, Glinda says to the Wicked Witch, "Begone, you have no power here." But of course she does. She does if we give her that power, if we don't choose again. Let's be honest, at times it's very difficult to be vigilant 100% of the time, telling this monster then that monster to beat it, even if you're writing a Sunday message about doing so, meaning you feel conscious of it and motivated and a responsibility to practice. There are other ways of relating to our monsters besides Begone. There's this great Buddhist story of this old woman who returns to her hut. She finds 3 of her old demons, her monsters, making this ruckus. And she goes to the fire. She starts building the fire. She goes and gets a pot of water. They ramp it up to get her attention. She puts the pot of water on the fire. They ramp it up another notch, and still no response from her. So the fiercest demon says to her, "We are your fiercest, scariest demons, and all you do is boil water. What is going on?" She looks at them and she says, "You were here yesterday. You'll be here tomorrow. In the meantime, what kind of tea do you want?" Dalai Lama, past memories, pains are still there. They've not gone away. It's how we choose to relate to them. How we relate to them. I'd like to think that that old woman in the story had previously tried to get rid of them through therapy, Zoloft, telling bad jokes, calling in pest control. She wasn't able to, so instead she rationally made a conscious choice to choose another option, to let them be. To let them be without going down those old paths of fear and anxiety and rumination, because the power was not in them. The power to choose was in her. So in her case, it wasn't monster be gone. In this case, it was peaceful acceptance. You can stay. I just won't engage you in the same way. Pass the sugar. Reminds me of an article I read in Unity magazine last year. Hundreds of times a day, we are offered a chance to make friends with a difficult moment rather than gritting our teeth. It comes down to these micro moments, tiny moments, moment-to-moment decisions we make about how we approach what is in front of us. Will I resist what's in front of me and live with bitterness and frustration? Or will I align my body, mind, and spirit with the way things are, allowing myself to be at peace? With the way things are. It's been a hard one for me. Unity really helps me with that. It's similar to when Wayne Dyer reminds us, peace is the result of retraining your mind to process life as it is, rather than as it should be. 4, what you resist persists. We've heard that a lot in Unity, at least up in my Unity. What you resist persists, because by resisting it, we must believe it has some power. And resisting it strengthens that belief. Again, Joel Goldsmith. The beginning of wisdom is when we draw our attention away from the outer world, from the world of appearances, and begin to realize the power is not in it, but in me. So we might not be able to choose all our thoughts as they speed through our brains at 90 miles per hour. But you know what? We can choose which ones to take on. You choose whether or not to wear that glowing necklace, thereby becoming a magnet to monsters of fear, demons of judgment, devils of anxiety, or to instead declare these thoughts are not of God and therefore have no power, and to banish them. You choose the thoughts upon which you allow your mind to dwell, says Emmet Fox. So where's your mind been dwelling? At times, I'm like Dr. Frankenstein, reviving my personal monsters who had been buried for a while during healthier moments, but when I regress or feel scared or hurt, or during vulnerable times like allergy season. I really do have to watch my thoughts during allergy season. I bring them back to life to protect me, to help me survive. I do survive, but they don't help me. They're just old thinking. They're harmful, debilitating old thoughts. May have been helpful at one time, not any longer. They're thoughts from the world of appearances, and they need to return there because when I bring them back to life, they roar. And when they roar, I can't hear spirit. In the Sufi tradition, it's suggested that our thoughts should go through 3 gates. First gate, we ask of our thought, is it true? If so, we let it pass. The second gate, is it necessary or useful? If so, we let that continue to the third gate. Is the thought rooted in love and kindness? Thoughts that are neither true nor helpful nor kind falter at the gates. I was thinking that, gee, sometimes the backup at my gates would be worse than traffic in Northern Virginia on a holiday weekend. But not always. And notice they say we let the thoughts pass through. It is our choice as gatekeeper, which means we need to stop and be aware. We need to take notice, pay attention, be aware without immediately jumping on the freight train of a thought that's barreling through our minds and reacting. So many of our thoughts are roadmaps that we once used to protect us, but which have become useless and actually disabling and hurtful. Is this thought true? Is it necessary or useful? Is it rooted in love and kindness? No, no, no. Regarding, to all 3, regarding my gym experience, regarding too many of my experiences actually. But again, I'm making movement on it. Charles Fillmore reminds us a healthy state of mind is attained and continues when the thinker lets go of the old thoughts and takes on the new. That we need to stop seeing solely through human eyes and see through Christ's eyes, which reflect strength, unity, and love. And when we do that, when we take on new thoughts, we're dismantling our old selves, our old realities, shedding our monsters, and as Erich Fromm says, we're giving birth to ourselves. Speaking of giving birth, something interesting really happened as I was doing this, and it was great because it was another insight. You know, I actually used Monster Begone, and at times I would say it out loud, which really seemed to help me. I'd have to be careful where I said it, you know, but I noticed after week 2 that they kind of responded. They didn't fight, they weren't oppositional, they looked relieved. In fact, they kind of thanked me for telling me to leave. They looked gentler. They were not evil. In fact, they were very, very, very tired. By week 3, when I said it, Monster Begone, they were out of there, like that. And I realized that I asked them to be fierce, thinking they'd protect me. I was wrong. They never asked to be born or to be used this way. They never wanted to be there in the first place. Some were handed down from generations past, so they were old and tired. But some were my creations born out of fear, helping me to cope and ill-used. Monsters Begone, and I'm sorry. For I'm an expression of divine love. I'm capable of being a much better parent. On the lighter side, I decided to Google Monster Begone. I thought maybe I'll get something for this. Well, I found many, many Monster Begone sprays. Safely eradicates all types of monsters, including but not limited to the common closet, bed monsters, zombies, goblins, ogres, and trolls. Monster Begone botanicals, aromatherapy mist, monster repellent ascension oils. So I thought, how about a Monster Begone app? One that dings or gongs, or maybe growls when we're face to face with one of our monsters, when we need to dismiss a negative, judgmental, or fearful thought that we've separated ourselves from source and we need a reminder to choose again. I checked it out. There isn't one. Guess it gets down to, do I feel at peace right now or not? As the Course in Miracles says, peace of mind will tell us if we're an ego or spirit. It's kind of an internal app. I just need to keep it on all the time. For our thoughts are present, we are always praying, always. And the Course in Miracles reminds us there's no such thing as idle thoughts. It says, what gives rise to the perception of a whole world can hardly be called idle. What gives rise to either a world of lack or a world of abundance? To a world of fear, to a world of peace, of judgment or vision. It ultimately creates our world, one of separation, one of connection to a power greater than us. A few months ago, there was a New Yorker cartoon. There's Adam and Eve standing looking at a shrub. The apple tree is next to them, and God is above. And God saying, but feel free to eat from the shrub of delusion. The world of separation. Each of us selects the law under which he will live. Emily Cady. It is not true that we make the law, she says, but we decide which law we will obey. We select the law. We make that choice. A choice to live under the highest law of being, a law acknowledging that we are wondrously made, or not. A choice to live under a law that permits and encourages monsters to roam freely in our minds, pillaging our thoughts, burning hope, making us think strange and twisted thoughts instead of ones of forgiveness and love. Making us live and experience separation from God, from one another, and from our true selves, even though separation from God and from one another is a departure from our essence. That quote is not from a Unity book. It's from The Mind of God by Dr. J. Lombard, a behavioral neurologist. Separation from God and from one another is a departure from our essence. So which law do you select? Separation or connection? For there is no choice which lies between the two. Our thoughts can hurt, belittle, diminish, reinforce our unworthiness. Our thoughts can maim, our thoughts can eviscerate, and our thoughts can sometimes kill. Our brain and our minds can be dangerous or can be healing. As Dr. Lombard says, this one organ, under guard, with the liberty to fall prey to demons or to follow a more healthful and productive path, is the single implement we use to heal ourselves and others. So, I invite you to take off your glowing necklace, bid those demons begone, for you have a vast kingdom to rule, your mind. Choose to be a kind, loving, generous ruler, centered in a power that's greater than you, yet one that is also a part of you. Choose to fast from unworthy thoughts and to stop eating from those shrubs of delusion. They're everywhere. Choose instead, as Charles Fillmore says in Keep a True Lent, to feast on things of the Spirit. Feast on the good and the true. Blessings, my friends. And now join me for meditation. Time to go inward, to let the chair and floor support you. Feel what it's like to be supported. And breathe. Breathe on purpose. And just observe your breath. And with each breath, sink further into the chair. Thoughts will come. Welcome them and then let them go, as if they were clouds in your mind. Allow them to continue to move and to simply float by. Whatever appears, appears. No need to label them as good or bad. They just are. If your to-do list comes up, tell it, I see that you're there. I'll get back to you later. And if you're distracted by ancient thoughts and messages, bid them begone. Identify with the part of your mind where stillness and peace reign. Go past all the clamor and raucous shrieks that vie for your attention. Thoughts that have no power, for those thoughts are not of spirit. Those thoughts cover your real thoughts and obscure your eternal link with a higher power. I trust and relax in the power. Sink deep into the peace that waits for you beyond your thoughts, beyond the sights and sounds of this world, beyond the past. Be still. Hold your mind in silent readiness and hear God's voice. I trust and relax as we go into the silence. God's voice speaks to you throughout the day. How will you hear God's voice today? It's time to return to the room, gently, always gently, as we silently affirm, today I will be open to hearing God's voice above all the others I carry around with me. Today, I will let my inner conversations be with my God self. And so it is.